Welcome students. Today we are going to discuss gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis meets the needs of the body for glucose when sufficient carbohydrate is not available from the diet or glycogen reserves. Gluconeogenesis is essentially the process of converting a non-carbohydrate precursor to glucose. The major substrates are the glucogenic amino acids, lactate, glycerol and propionate. These non-carbohydrate precursors of glucose are first converted into pyruvate or enter the pathway of gluconeogenesis at later intermediates such as oxaloacetate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. Liver and kidney are the major gluconeogenesis tissue. Gluconeogenesis mainly follow the reverse pathway of glycolysis, but it is not the reversal of glycolysis. Three irreversible reactions in glycolytic pathway catalyzed by hexokinase, phosphofructokinase and pyruvate kinase are considered thermodynamic barrier which prevent simple reversal of glycolysis or glucose synthesis. In gluconeogenesis, the following new steps bypass those virtually irreversible reactions of glycolysis. Number 1, bypass for pyruvate kinase together by pyruvate carboxylase and phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase, which leads to formation of phosphoenol pyruvate from pyruvate. Then bypass for phosphofructokinase 1 by fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase, which leads to formation of fructose 6-phosphate from fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. And lastly, bypass for hexokinase by glucose 6-phosphatase, which leads to formation of glucose by hydrolysis of glucose 6-phosphate. First bypass or the formation of phosphoenol pyruvate from pyruvate. In this bypass of the reaction catalyzed by pyruvate kinase in glycolysis involves two endothermic reactions. Phosphoenol pyruvate is formed from pyruvate by the action of pyruvate carboxylase and phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase through formation of intermediate, that is oxaloacetate. The main source of pyruvate is mitochondria and its concentration in cytosol is very low. These reactions are basically to bring pyruvate out of the mitochondria into cytosol for further processing, since gluconeogenesis is a cytosolic procedure. Pyruvate cannot get transported through inner mitochondrial membrane. The mitochondrial pyruvate carboxylase first converts pyruvate into oxaloacetate. Here biotin is the coenzyme which incorporates carbon dioxide from bicarbonate into pyruvate. Neither oxaloacetate, the product of the pyruvate carboxylase reaction, can pass through inner mitochondrial membrane. It is reduced to malate inside the mitochondria for transport through the inner mitochondrial membrane to the cytosol. The reduction is accomplished by an NADH-linked malate dehydrogenase. After malate is transported across the mitochondrial membrane by malate aspartate shuttle or malate aspartate antipode, it is reoxidized to oxaloacetate by an NAD+ linked malate dehydrogenase in the cytosol. Here the malate aspartate shuttle has been depicted. In the cytosol, oxaloacetate gets converted into phosphoenol pyruvate with the help of phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase or PEPCK. In liver and kidney, the reaction of succinate thiokinase in the citric acid cycle produces GTP rather than ATP as in other tissues, and this GTP is used for the reaction of phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase, thus maintaining balance between TCA cycle and gluconeogenesis. Now the second bypass. It is the formation of fructose 6-phosphate from fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. Upon formation, phosphoenol pyruvate is metabolized by the enzymes of glycolysis but in the reverse direction. These reactions are near equilibrium under intracellular conditions, so when conditions favor gluconeogenesis, the reverse reactions will take place until the next irreversible step is reached, which is the hydrolysis of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate to fructose 6-phosphate and inorganic phosphate. Fructose 1,6-bisphosphate catalyzes this reaction. This is one exorganic hydrolytic reaction. Its presence determines whether a tissue is capable of synthesizing glucose not only from pyruvate but also from tyrose phosphates like dihydroxyacetone phosphate. It is present in liver, kidney and skeletal muscles but is probably absent from heart and smooth muscles. This fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase is one allosteric enzyme that participates in the regulation of gluconeogenesis. The final step in the generation of glucose does not take place in the cytosol. Rather, glucose 6-phosphate is transported into the lumen of the endoplasmic reticulum where it is hydrolyzed to glucose by glucose 6-phosphatase, which is bound to the endoplasmic reticular membrane. Glucose and inorganic phosphate are then shuttled back to the cytosol by a pair of transporters. This occurs in tissues like liver and to a lesser extent in the kidneys. The enzyme is absent in muscles and adipose tissue, which therefore cannot export glucose into the bloodstream because they cannot form glucose from the non-carbohydrate sources. Here, the entire gluconeogenesis pathway has been depicted. Now the energetics of gluconeogenesis. 6 nucleotide triphosphate molecules are hydrolyzed to synthesize a molecule of glucose from pyruvate in gluconeogenesis, whereas only 2 molecules of ATPs are generated in glycolysis in the conversion of glucose into pyruvate. Thus, it is not a simple reversal of glycolysis, but it is energetically an expensive affair. The main substrates of gluconeogenesis are the glucogenic amino acids, lactate, glycerol and propionate. First, the glucogenic amino acids. Amino acids, those are degraded to pyruvate, alpha-ketoglutarate, succinyl-CoA, fumarate or oxaloacetate are termed glucogenic amino acids. The net synthesis of glucose from those glucogenic amino acids is possible because these citric acid cycle intermediates like succinyl-CoA, fumarate or oxaloacetate and pyruvate can be converted into phosphoenol pyruvate. Amino acids, those are degraded to acetate-CoA or acetoacetate-CoA are termed ketogenic amino acids because they can give rise to ketone bodies or fatty acids instead of glucose. Here we have the list of amino acids and the point at which those glucogenic amino acids enter into the TCA cycle. Those are listed in the purple box. We have another 2 boxes colored in yellow. Those are the ketogenic amino acids. Since they form acetate-CoA or acetoacetate-CoA, they cannot enter into the gluconeogenetic pathway, so they are not capable of producing glucose. Lactate is formed by active skeletal muscles when the rate of glycolysis exceeds the rate of oxidative phosphometabolic. Lactate is readily converted into pyruvate by the action of lactate dehydrogenase involving the following reaction. During anaerobic glycolysis in skeletal muscles, pyruvate is reduced to lactate by lactate dehydrogenase. This reaction serves two critical functions during anaerobic glycolysis. First, the reaction requires NADH and yields NAD+, which is then available for the use of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase reaction of glycolysis. Secondly, the lactate produced by the LDH reaction is released to the bloodstream and transported to the liver where it is converted to glucose. The glucose is then returned to the blood for use by the muscles as an energy source and to replenish glycogen store. This is called as the Cori cycle. The liver supplies glucose to contracting skeletal muscles, which derives ATP from the glycolytic conversion of glucose into lactate. Contracting skeletal muscles supply lactate to the liver, which uses it to synthesize glucose through neoglucogenetic pathway. These are the reactions that comprise the Cori cycle. Propionate is a major precursor of glucose in ruminants. It enters gluconeogenesis via the citric acid cycle. In non-ruminants, including humans, propionate arises from beta oxidation of ornithine fatty acids that occur in the ruminant lipids, as well as the oxidation of isoleucine and the side chains of cholesterol, and it is relatively minor substrate for gluconeogenesis. Now, one important thing is the entry of glycerol in the pathway of gluconeogenesis. The hydrolysis of triglycerol in the fat cells yields glycerol and fatty acids. Glycerol may enter either the gluconeogenetic or the glycolytic pathway as the dihydroxyacetone phosphate step. Glycerol kinase, which is the main enzyme for the formation of dihydroxyacetone phosphate, is absent in adipose tissues. So glycerol released by hydrolysis of triglyceride cannot be utilized for re-esterification. It is a waste product for adipose tissues. It is carried through circulation to the liver and is used for gluconeogenesis or glycolysis depending upon the need. Triacylglycerol or fats on hydrolysis yields fatty acids and glycerol. Even chain fatty acids are not the gluconeogenetic precursor because they form acetyl-CoA. Oxidation of those fatty acids will enormous amount of energy. However, the carbons of the fatty acid cannot be utilized for net synthesis of glucose. The 2-carbon unit of acetyl-CoA derived from beta oxidation of fatty acids can be incorporated into TCA cycle. But during the TCA cycle, 2 carbons are lost as carbon dioxide. Moreover, the formation of acetyl-CoA from pyruvate is one irreversible step. Thus, acetyl-CoA cannot be converted back into glucose. Now, regulation of glycolysis and gluconeogenesis. 3 mechanisms are responsible for regulation of any enzyme. Number 1, changes in the rate of enzyme synthesis. This is either induction or depression. Number 2, covalent modification by reversible phosphorylation, and finally the allostatic regulation. First, induction or repression. Insulin, which rises after eating, stimulates the expression of phosphofructokinase, pyruvate kinase, and the bifunctional enzyme that makes and degrades fructose 2,6-bisphosphate. Glucagon, which rises during starvation, inhibits the expression of those enzymes and stimulates the production of two key gluconeogenic enzymes, phosphoenol pyruvate carboxykinase and fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase. Transcriptional control in eukaryotes is much slower than allosteric regulation. It takes hours or days in contrast with seconds to minutes. Now, covalent modification by reversible phosphorylation. The covalent modification by reversible phosphorylation is a rapid procedure. Glucagon and epinephrine, those hormones that are responsible for the decrease in blood glucose, inhibit glycolysis and stimulate gluconeogenesis in the liver by increasing the concentration of cyclic AMP. This is in turn activates cyclic AMP dependent protein kinase, leading to the phosphorylation and inactivation of pyruvate kinase. They also affect the concentration of fructose 2,6-bisphosphate, and therefore glycolysis and gluconeogenesis are appropriately regulated. Now, allosteric modification. Acetyl-CoA acts as an allosteric motivator of pyruvate carboxylase. The activation of pyruvate carboxylase and the reciprocal inhibition of pyruvate dehydrogenase by acetyl-CoA derived from the oxidation of fatty acids explain the action of fatty acid oxidation in sparing the oxidation of pyruvate and in stimulating neoglucogenesis. A high level of adenosine monophosphate indicates that the energy level is low and signals the need of ATP generation. Conversely, high level of ATP and citrate indicates that the energy level is high and the biosynthetic intermediates are abundant. Under these conditions, glycolysis is nearly switched off and gluconeogenesis is promoted. AMP stimulates phosphofructokinase, while ATP and citrate inhibits it. Fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase, on the other hand, is inhibited by AMP and activated by citrate. Now, fructose 2,6-bisphosphate. It is the most potent positive allosteric activator of phosphofructokinase 1 and inhibitor of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate in liver. It relieves inhibition of phosphofructokinase 1 by ATP and increases the affinity for fructose 6-phosphate. It inhibits fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase by increasing the Km for fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. Fructose 2,6-bisphosphate is formed by phosphorylation of fructose 6-phosphate by phosphofructokinase 2. The same enzyme protein is also responsible for its breakdown, since it has fructose 2,6-bisphosphatase activity also. This bifunctional enzyme is under the allosteric control of fructose 6-phosphate, which stimulates the kinase and inhibits the phosphatase. When there is an abundant supply of glucose, the concentration of fructose 2,6-bisphosphate increases, stimulating glycolysis by activating phosphofructokinase 1 and inhibiting fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase. In the fasting state, glucagon stimulates the production of cyclic AMP, activating cyclic AMP-dependent protein kinase which in turn inactivates phosphofructokinase 2 and activates fructose 2,6-bisphosphatase by phosphorylation. Hence, gluconeogenesis is stimulated by a decrease in the concentration of fructose 2,6-bisphosphate, which inactivates phosphofructokinase 1 and relieves the inhibition of fructose 1,6-bisphosphatase. Glycolysis and gluconeogenesis are reciprocally regulated. When glycolysis is on, gluconeogenesis is turned off, especially in the fed state. Whereas under condition of starvation, gluconeogenesis is fully on and glycolysis is turned off. Both the cycles are never active at the same place at the same time. So that is all for today's class. We will have another small discussion on the clinical aspect of gluconeogenesis. So that is all for today. Thank you.